Super Bowl week. We're here, finally here, the week of the Super Bowl. I know a lot of you are excited. I'm excited too. As you see, we pulled out the shirts and shirts. We had to pull it out.
Got to hop in our bag.
Super Bowl week. We'll be talking about some NFL today. A big NFL trade happened. We'll be talking about that. Some NBA news also. Some teams are looking really good. But without further ado, first I would like to welcome you guys. Welcome to First Possession. I am your host, John Iaguro. I'm here with my partner, David Ogedembe, and we'll be talking about some NFL news, a really big one. But let's get straight into it. You know, Matthew Stafford got traded to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks. Some thought it might be too much, a second-round pick, and a couple of third-round picks. And let's just bring that to the table. Because I'm going to ask you straight away, who won or who lost that trade?
I think right now, as we speak, because things can change over time. We've seen that happen with a lot of trades, not just in the NFL, but also in the NBA. You kind of have to give it a year before you assess the full winner and loser. But as we speak right now, I think the Lions are the winners of this trade. And the reason I say that is because as great as Matthew Stafford is, and he is great, not taking anything away from him, he is a great quarterback. Threw for over 4,000 yards last year, completed over 60% of his passes, also threw for 26 touchdowns. He was incredible. The only thing positive about that city of Detroit was Matthew Stafford, and that is just a fact. But the problem is he's 0-2 in the playoffs with 2 appearances in the playoffs. Like I said, he hasn't won a postseason game. And not only that, but Matthew Stafford is not a top 10 quarterback.
Right now?
No, he's not. He's not a top 10 quarterback. If he is, he's literally number 10. He's a top half quarterback.
A hot take.
He's a top half quarterback with top 10 talent. And at the end of the day, there's still a level of uncertainty with a guy like Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
Because with 2 playoff appearances, and you didn't even win any of those games, so it's not like you've gotten out of the first round, which is the wild card, because we know he's not going to get some divisional appearance.
Okay.
There's still a level of what can he do in the postseason? Is he really that guy? We don't know if he's that guy. He's a talented quarterback that hasn't accomplished what a talented quarterback should be able to accomplish. And I can understand if you're giving up these picks for a Deshaun Watson. But he's not a Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
That's a top 5 quarterback. By the way, Deshaun Watson, his value just went all the way through the roof. He's probably going to have to give up through the roof. You're probably going to have to give up 4 first-round picks for this guy now?
Whatever team is looking to trade for Deshaun, you're probably just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it just went through the roof. But in regards to Stafford going to LA, LA is a great team. They have a great defense that's set. They got Brockers. They got Leonard Floyd, obviously Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey in that secondary. Their defense is stacked. They're loaded on that side of the ball. And offensively, they got a running game with Akers. They also have Cooper Kupp. They have some weapons on that offense. And Jared Goff was not, we all knew he was never going to get them back to the glory days of 2018, where they had 3 MVP candidates, Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley, and Jared Goff. All 3 of them were MVP candidates that year. But unfortunately, let's just face the facts and reality. Giving up first-round picks in the NFL is not the same as giving up first-round picks in the NBA. They're way more valuable in the NFL. A second-round pick is even valuable to an extent. And to give up multiple of those for a quarterback that hasn't done anything in the postseason, hasn't advanced past the first round, and only has 2 appearances to his name, I just think that's a little bit ridiculous because at the end of the day, I can't give you credit for what you can do. I can only give you credit for what you've done. And Matthew Stafford has not done anything to prove that he's worth the value that they gave up.
Wow.
That's just my personal opinion.
Let me just throw out a stat out there, right?
Oh, brother.
In the last 6 years of Matthew Stafford's career in Detroit, all right, his team averaged 89 rushing yards per game, all right? 89 rushing yards per game. You know what? In 12 years playing for Detroit, you want to know how many times his team has ran for 100 yards in 12 years. 11 times. 11 times in 12 years has his team ran for 100 yards in a game. You want to know how many times the Rams did that last year? 5. That's half in almost, a 1-year span to a 12-year span. The fact that Matthew Stafford, as great as he is, made the playoffs twice in 12 years, that should tell you a lot about the Lions as an organization. It should tell you a lot about what that franchise is about because I think, maybe apart from the Texans right now, is the worst in the league, the Lions right now, because Matthew Stafford, as great as he is, the Lions as a franchise haven't put him in the best position to win. They haven't maximized his talents. They haven't put the right pieces around him. Let's not even get into the head coaches that they've had over the last couple of years. Let's not even get into that. And now you go trade him to the Los Angeles Rams, who I think won this trade in a big, big way. They won this trade by a mile, I think, because the Rams, as presently constructed, they're built to win now. They have Aaron Donald, who's not getting any younger, Jalen Ramsey, who's still one of the best corners in the defense. Their defense is as solid as ever, one of the best, if not the best in NFL from back to front. And then you look at their offense, it was one missing piece, and that missing piece was a quarterback. They needed a quarterback who was experienced, a quarterback who was ready to win now, and they got that in Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff is no scrub. I don't care. I don't know why people are calling him a scrub. He's not a bum. He's a good young quarterback, but he was just not ready yet. He went to the Super Bowl, but we know, obviously, with Sean McVay's play calling. And then you get somebody with the talent of Matthew Stafford, who I think, talent-wise, he's up there with the best of them. The arm strength, the accuracy.
Where's he gotten him? Like, what has he done?
I just mentioned about how bad the Lions.
What good is it to be talented when you haven't done anything with that talent?
What good is it to be talented and not have the right pieces around you?
Okay, but we've seen quarterbacks accomplish more with less. Have we not?
Let me tell you how bad it is. Let me tell you how bad it has been for Matt Stafford the last 12 years, right? You can be very good, you can be talented, you can put up huge numbers, but if you don't have the right pieces around you, Deshaun Watson this year, you would say it's one of the best quarterback seasons in recent years, right? But his team was just so bad that no matter how good you were, it doesn't matter.
That's so different because for one, dude, don't throw Deshaun Watson's name in this conversation.
Okay. I'm just using that as an example.
For one,
as an example, team-wise.
Deshaun is way more talented than Matthew.
Agreed.
Number two, Deshaun has actually proven he can get it done in the postseason. Deshaun's actually gone to a second round. Because he's been there multiple times. Okay, and he has more playoff appearances in, 5 years than Matthew Stafford's had in his entire career, and he's played better in those games. Stafford is completing below 60% of his passes in the playoffs. He's 0-2 in the playoffs.
That's a small sample size. Come on, just 2 games.
There's a reason it's a small sample size. There's a reason.
He hasn't been put in the best position to win, and that's my point.
So players can't just – he's a loser.
Oh,
he's a loser.
That's going too far.
Time out.
Somebody of that talent, you have to maximize it.
You can't talk about the talent and then sit there and just blame everything on the organization.
No. Stafford deserves some blame. I'm not letting him off the hook.
Is he not a part of that culture?
He's been there for 12 years.
To that culture.
He's been there for 12 years. Obviously, they've lost so much.
So you would give up first-round picks for this guy that hasn't done
2 first-rounders? Okay, I think that's a stretch. Maybe I would have done 1 and a couple more second-rounders, but they give up 2 first-rounders. The Rams.
Here's the thing about Goff that people get on Goff about. First of all, Goff was injured in the playoffs. I don't know why nobody brings that up. He had surgery right before his first game of the postseason. And he still got them a game over the Seattle Seahawks.
Fair enough.
Who a lot of people looked at as contenders to potentially even knock off the Packers.
Fair enough.
I remember you thought they were going to be contenders. And not only that, but let's also consider the fact that Jared Goff at least has a postseason resume that far supersedes Matthew Stafford. Far supersedes. That one run in 2018 is more than Matthew Stafford's ever accomplished.
It's more than what he's ever accomplished for days around him. I'll ask you a question, right? Who do you think right now is the better quarterback, Jared Goff or Matthew Stafford?
But that's not a fair question because that wasn't the trade. You gave up other picks. The Lions
were not doing anything with swap. The Lions were not doing anything with Matthew Stafford. Literally, you were just gonna keep him there for the next 3-4 years and waste the rest of his career.
So the Rams, the Lions won. They won this trade.
I think the Rams
They got 2 first-round picks and multiple other picks.
It is one thing we know. The Rams in the last 6 years, right? They have not drafted a first-round pick.
And say what you want about Goff, but Goff is not that bad.
He's not.
People act like Goff is a scrub.
I'll give you
Goff didn't have a great year this past year. I will admit that. He threw for 4,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Not a great touchdown-to-interception ratio, but they were still one of the best offenses in the league, and they were a top 10 defense. You can still run it back with Goff and then see where you can go from there. Or you could just try to go for other quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson was available. There were other QBs they could have gone after, and they settled for Matthew Stafford. And I have no issue with Stafford on the Rams. My issue is you gave up too much to get a quarterback that has top 10 talent but doesn't have top 10 quarterback results.
And what I'm trying to tell you is when you look at the Rams as presently constructed, they're constructed to win now. Literally, they have everything to win now except a top 10 quarterback.
So are they going to win a Super Bowl?
I wouldn't go that far. I would say.
Are they the favorites?
Okay, come on, that's unfair to say because we have somebody in the NFC right now, Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
If this trade doesn't make you the favorites and you gave up all this to get that player, then that means you lost.
I'll say they're top two. I'll say they're top two right now. I don't care whether it's Green Bay or Tampa.
They need to be clear-cut favorites if you're going to give up this much for them.
No, they will be in the NFC Championship game. I can guarantee you that. Okay. NFC Championship game, the Rams will be there next year, except like some weird injury happens. Everybody healthy, the Rams will be in the NFC Championship game next year.
If that's the case, then
book it. I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
Anyway, still on the NFL. Moving on, we'll be talking about our most disappointed NFL player this year and our most surprising player this year. So let's start with the disappointing one because some guys lived up to expectations, some guys below expectations. So who for you was your most disappointing NFL player this season?
I'm gonna go with Jamal Adams.
I'm gonna go with Jamal Adams.
For those who have been paying attention, I'm just gonna be honest. For those who have been paying attention to the show, y'all know I am not a huge fan of Jamal Adams.
Yep.
And here's the thing: it's not like I hate Jamal. It's not like I hate him. Maybe it's because I'm a Bama fan, so I didn't like him at LSU. But aside from that, that's all jokes. Jamal Adams, he needs to just move to a linebacker. He likes to attack the quarterback. That's what he likes to do. I think he recorded almost 10 sacks this year. Shout out to him, good pass rusher. But in coverage, he's one of the worst in the league. He's terrible in coverage. And maybe it's because of zone. They need to put him in more zone situations. But in man coverage, obliteration every single time. I'm talking walking,
by Cooper
go
Kupp.
out. Yep, I was about to say Cooper Kupp cooked him. Put him on the stove and lit him on fire. Put that man in the oven and put it on high. This guy was a walking go route for every single receiver that stepped on his field. And the thing that gets me is that they gave up a lot for him.
Yep.
The Seahawks gave up a lot and their defense got worse. I'm sorry, you can't, because people forget he was viewed as a generational talent. Generational. And I'm not even saying that he's trash. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a great player. But I'm sorry. Yes, it's cool to have that kind of impact come from the secondary, but when they give up as much as they gave up for you and your production fails to live up to what they wanted, especially in the secondary, I'm sorry, bro. That's a disappointment to me. And there are a lot of guys I could have picked for this. I could have picked Jared Goff. He was very disappointing this year. But considering the expectations and how the Seahawks struggled on the defensive side of the ball, and you barely contributed to that in the secondary other than just rushing the passer, which nobody cares about. Literally, nobody cares about the fact that you can hit the quarterback and you can stop the run. It's cool. It's a nice little side hustle that you can have. But, bro, unless you can stop receivers, it's hard for me to put you in that upper class of safeties. He's up there, but he's not as high as he should be. And also, when he was smoking that cigar, bragging about the Rams, and then he goes into the playoffs and has a terrible performance and gives up one of the biggest plays of that entire game that changed the momentum of the game, by the way. Man, he didn't even have a great postseason performance. And to me, he's got to step up next year because the Seahawks don't just want him to be better. They need him to be better because they gave up a lot for him. And that's just how I feel.
Well, I mean, Jamal Adams, I thought he had a relatively good season. But
I don't care. That man is a linebacker, bro. He needs to change his position.
He's a freelance. He plays wherever he wants. Freelance. That's what you call Jamal Adams.
Brother.
He's positionless. In football, there's not positionless football, but Jamal Adams brings that into the
basketball.
game.
Stop.
But anyways, my most disappointing player of this season is Kyler Murray.
Wow.
Kyler Murray was my most disappointing player of this season because I thought they made some big moves in the offseason, getting D-Hop, and he had a 26 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. It finished with a 8-8 record in the regular season. I thought when I looked at that team, obviously he started out the season super strong, And as the season progressed, he just, I don't want to say folded, but he shrunk in really big moments. The Arizona Cardinals started about 6-3. They started the season off 6-3. And me, like most people, had Kyler Murray in top 3 of my MVP candidates. Because, Russell Wilson started off hot.
They had an easy schedule, though, in the beginning of the
Kyler
year.
Murray started off hot, too. I'm like, okay, this could be Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson, the battle of the small dogs, This could be something Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson. This could be something that we'll see, going to the end of the season. And, they had D-Hop. They had a pretty good defense, I would say. They had, I forgot, Buda Baker. He was one of the Defensive Player of the Year candidates also. They had a lot of pieces that, they could have worked with. And Kyler Murray, I thought, would be that guy to take them over the edge. And he didn't, live up to par for me. Finished with 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Yes, that's good for a third-year player, but I expected better from him. The 49ers, they were obviously not as good as they were, this season. I thought, okay, he would take advantage of that. Obviously, Jared Goff and the Rams, they had their slips. I thought he would take advantage of that. The Seahawks also had their slips. I thought, the Cardinals would take advantage of that, but, they just didn't, and they finished with an 8-8 record, and they didn't make the Super Bowl. I know, yes, it's the
Super Bowl.
they didn't make the playoffs, but
I was about to say.
Yeah, it's the first couple of seasons under Cliff Kingsbury, so I expect them to be better next year, but, I expected more from Kyler Murray and the offense this year.
You didn't see improvement from Kyler?
I seen improvement, but I just expected better, and especially if you improve, your record's got to be better. They've got to have a winning record.
What was the record in his rookie year?
They
were like, what, 7-9?
Yeah, and 8-8. I predicted about 10-6, 9-7. If you look at their schedule, they missed some really big games.
I'll admit, that Patriots game, they should have won. That was a really hard loss.
That one was one of it. I think the second game against Seattle, they could have won that, and they lost it. But,
to be fair, that Hail Mary was...
Exactly. That's another game they could have lost. And we know, a couple of games that, they let slip from them. And they could have won. But, Kyler Murray.
I thought Kyler had a fairly solid year. I'll admit, though, after that beginning,
he started off really hot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of gave them a little bit too many expectations after the beginning of the season. And it was really because, let's just be honest here, DeAndre Hopkins helped Kyler Murray a lot with his ability to run routes better. Because when you give a quarterback that number one, you got a guy that can run routes. You know where they're going to be, so your accuracy is going to improve. But the issue is, let's just be honest here, they had an easy beginning of the schedule. They had a fairly easy schedule in the beginning.
You got to play who's in front of you, right?
But that didn't matter when the Steelers were undefeated, right? I'm just saying, we were undefeated. We beat the Colts.
We knew the Steelers weren't going to do anything.
Whatever, bro. That's a different topic. But regardless, I feel you, though. The ending of the season was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it was disappointing. But moving on. We just talked about disappointing. Now, who was your most positive, surprising player that you thought, lived up to the hype or overdid themselves?
Okay. This one's going to hurt because I hate the Browns, but I got to go with Baker Mayfield.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me say this about Baker.
Thank you.
Coming into this season, I had a lot of expectations for him because you have all these weapons. You got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt in the backfield. Two of the best running backs in the league on the same team, But then you look at the receiving weapons you got. Njoku. You got Jarvis Landry.
Had Odell to start the season.
Odell Beckham to start the year. He had some weapons.
Peoples Jones.
Their defense, let's leave it
Secondary
at that.
was sus, but the front line was pretty solid.
Okay, it's just Myles Garrett. It's literally just Myles Garrett.
It's all right.
Their defense, they really only have two playmakers with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. But he had a lot of weapons on offense, so I was expecting a really good year for Baker. And when he started off the season, he was a little shaky. He wasn't trash. He wasn't throwing interceptions the way he did the year prior because he was coming off of a really rough sophomore season, which he completed below 60% of his passes, threw for 3,800 yards, but he also threw 22 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. He looked like he was teetering on the bust side of things. But then in his third year this year, he came out with the vengeance, completed 63% of his passes, threw for 3,500 yards, also threw for 26 touchdowns, along with 8 interceptions. He cut down his interceptions from 21 to 28. Shout out to him for doing that. And also that second half of the year, he caught on fire.
Literally.
The way we saw that Ravens game, he torched that team. And that secondary is no joke. That team defense is no joke. So shout out to him for that game. Andy came through, obviously, against my Steelers. It was a tough game to watch. And they were just a couple players away from upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely.
Sure, Mahomes was out, but that was still a very impressive performance from the Cleveland Browns. And Baker Mayfield went from being a guy that we viewed as, oh, he could be a game manager for this team, but now he can be a legitimately maybe top 10 quarterback in this league. I think top 10 is not far-fetched. MVP level is a little far-fetched, but I think top 10, that's definitely within his grasp.
I think, definitely. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but I did try to tell y'all about Baker Mayfield. When you get a grown-up in the room, a solid head coach, put some pieces around a young quarterback, they will flourish. They
went from that bum, Freddie Kitchens,
the laughable Browns to, a legit team. And I think next year they will make some noise next year. But, my most impressive player this year, I would like to say Tom Brady, because at 43, what he's doing or whatnot, nobody's seen this coming. But I'm going to go Justin Herbert.
Ooh, okay.
Justin Herbert was my most impressive player, because if anybody told you they seen this from Herbert coming out of college, they're lying to you. We all knew he was going to be, a really good quarterback, but not this good.
Yeah.
4,300 yards. That's what Justin Herbert had this year.
Incredible.
31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Broke Baker's record for rookie passing touchdowns, and with 10 interceptions for a young quarterback, because we know as young quarterbacks, when they come in the league, they usually feel all the pressure. They throw a lot of picks, throw a lot of sacks. But that was not Herbert this case. He was calm. He was poised in the pocket. A big athletic guy. He can move also. The Chargers, who I thought this year were a playoff team, but Anthony Lynn, that's another discussion for another day. I thought the Chargers this year were a playoff team, because you look at Herbert and the pieces they have on offense with Keenan Allen and what's the other guy's name?
Mike Williams.
Yeah, Mike Williams, and the pieces they had, the running back, and in the defense with Joey Bosa and those pieces. I thought they were a playoff team this year.
They should have been a playoff team.
They should have been a playoff team. They lost I think about 8, 9, 10 games by one possession and single digits. That's how many games.
They almost beat the Chiefs.
Exactly. They took Tampa Bay to
the limit.
To the limit. Yeah. And I think this Chargers team this year were a playoff team, but Anthony Lynn happened, and obviously he's gone now. So, and let's see what the new head coach does. But Justin Herbert was my most impressive, surprising player this year, because coming out of Oregon, I didn't think he was going to be this good. I thought, okay, he would come in, maybe struggle for his first 2 years, and then learn on the fly. But he came out the gates, boom, boom, boom. And first of all, let's not talk about how disrespectful it was that Anthony Lynn didn't even give him the starting job to start the season.
Yeah,
it was Tyrod Taylor. I think a lot of people forget.
That's crazy.
A lot of people forget Justin Herbert was not starting the season,
and that honestly, if more than anything, cost him his job.
He put up these numbers, and he didn't even play, I think, the first 2 games.
Yeah, I think he only played 13 games of the year.
And when Tyrod got hurt, it was like, okay, Justin, now you got it. No, he's He been had it. They just needed to unleash him. But Justin Herbert was my guy for most impressive player this NFL season. And I think the future is bright for the Chargers, because with those pieces that you have, and with that guy, a quarterback, the future is very bright for the Chargers.
Yeah, I think Justin Herbert was incredible.
Really impressive.
That when you look at his arm and you just look at his ability to also run the ball, he has some legs. He has the height. That dude is humongous. I think
it's a good 6'5".
Yeah, that dude is huge. He could have hooped if he really wanted to.
I think he did in high school, if I'm sure.
Yeah, but he was incredible. Showed a lot of potential. His size is there. Pause. But he's just an amazing athlete at the quarterback position, combined with the arm talent. If anybody's going to rival Mahomes, people are talking about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I think Justin Herbert has the tools to do it, man. And talk about a successor. He is the successor to Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers didn't even get them anything. He got them 6 postseason appearances in 16 years. I'm sorry. Herbert's going to get way more than that.
I can't really say. Watching him this season, I don't see what his weakness is.
He doesn't really have much.
As a young quarterback, obviously there's a lot more to learn to the game. But when you talk about talent-wise with the arm,
he started off well.
Started off absolutely well.
His rookie season, I think, is on par with other first years as starters. I wouldn't say it's like Mahomes.
Right up there.
I wouldn't say it's like Mahomes.
I mean,
level.
Mahomes didn't really have a rookie season.
I know. I'm talking about first year starters, but I wouldn't say it's on the level of a Mahomes or anything, because that was just unprecedented.
He did go to the AFC Championship game.
But I do believe that his talent is going to be up there.
Absolutely.
We're talking about Mahomes' talent. Herbert could be up there just like that too.
100%.
So
I
think he's in that combo.
If they, get a good head coach, I forgot who they hired, but the Chargers, they could be a team to watch.
Yeah, they
in
will.
the AFC. But Now, moving on, the Houston Rockets fans, they should be happy now. The Rockets are on a 5-game winning streak?
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that after the commercial break. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Possession here. Still talking all things sports. We just talked about the NFL. Now let's move into basketball, some NBA. Boston Celtics lost to the Los Angeles Lakers 96-95. And Kemba Walker took the last shot and had a relatively bad game. A lot of people had some questions. So I'm going to ask you, yes, I know he's just coming off of injury and stuff, but, people obviously seen this from last year, moving into this year. What is wrong with Kemba Walker and what should the Celtics do?
Well, this is tough. This is really tough. For starters, to those who follow me on social media and have me on YouTube, y'all know I just recently dropped a video about Kemba Walker yesterday, and it's a really tough situation for the Celtics. It's a really tough situation.
What's new?
What is new? Kemba Walker. For those who don't know how bad he played against the Lakers, let me just give y'all some context here. Kemba Walker recorded 4 points, also recorded 4 assists and 6 rebounds, and shot 1 of 12 from the field. He made 1 shot in 12 attempts. I repeat, 1 shot in 12 attempts, and he also shot 0 of 5 from 3.
How many minutes?
He played 28 minutes. This man played 28 minutes and gave you 1 basket from the field and 2 free throws. Guys, he's just running out there. That's literally what that was. He was Cardio Kemba. That's what they're starting to call him now on Twitter. Cardio
Not cardiac.
Kemba. It's crazy because even that shot that he got at the end of the game, that's a typical Kemba shot.
Yeah,
his step backs, they literally call him step back Kemba.
He makes
Couldn't
that
even
all
make it.
9 out of 10
And
times.
to be fair, he's coming off of an injury. But what I find funny is these Celtics fans that are going to sit here and make excuses for him coming off of an injury are the same ones that when he was hooping, when he got back, because he had 2 games where he had 19 back-to-back, and then he had a 21-point performance in a win against the Cavs. And everybody sat there and was like, oh, Kemba's back. He's back. We're going to be nice, blah, 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 blah. But guess what? This man Kemba right now is looking like a glorified Terry Rozier. And what's crazy is Terry was the guy who was traded for, and Terry's playing better than him.
Yep.
So I can't even say glorified Terry Rozier anymore. Regardless, let's get back to the topic. Let me not roast Kemba right here. Here's the thing about Kemba Walker. Kemba is not a great defender. We know that. And he's not some elite playmaker. He's a solid passer. He's an okay playmaker. He draws a lot of attention from the defense due to his ability to create and his quickness with his ball handling, all of that. But he's not elite at anything other than shot creating. And because of that, now that that's been taken away due to him being compromised, maybe because of the injury or just the overall way the ball moves on that team, because you got Tatum there, and now Jaylen Brown is the legitimate second guy.
Yep.
There's no questions on who that second guy is. It's Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
And now Kemba kind of has to find his role on the team. If it means playing well on the defensive side of the ball, or just focusing more as being a playmaker, or focusing more as an off-ball threat. Kemba has to find that way to be effective other than being the second guy. Because look at everything that's happened over the past couple of years with Kemba Walker. He went from being the man in Charlotte to then being the second guy in Boston to now being the third guy, And it's tough for him to find that role because he's never been in this position before. And now, let's not forget their third guy is on a max contract.
Oof.
Kemba is on a max deal. And it's crazy because people criticize Michael Jordan for not giving Kemba that super
Good
max.
move.
That was a great move.
Great move.
Even giving him a max is too much.
Yep.
I'm sorry, as great of a player Kemba Walker is, at 6 feet tall, or around that 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2" area, a small guard, unless you're Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, or Kyrie Irving, you're not supposed to be getting that kind of money. And Kemba, as great as he was in Charlotte, he was the lone option. Who was the second best player throughout his tenure there? Dwight Howard, Nicholas Batum, guys that we know are not legitimate second guys. So in this case in Boston, I said from the jump when they signed Kemba Walker, it was a mistake to make that signing, especially for the amount of money they committed to him, because as great of a player Kemba can be, you're putting him in a situation he's never been in before. And not only that, they could have used that money to just build around the stars that they had, Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Sure, I get you lost Kyrie and Al Horford, but we've seen that Al Horford, he's already fallen off. So that was a good move they didn't pay him. They probably would have had to overpay him for him to stay. And Kyrie Irving, that's a tough loss because you gave up IT and you gave up that Brooklyn pick that turned into Colin Sexton.
Absolutely.
But you still had money to sign a max player. Instead of signing a max player in Kemba Walker and Enes Kanter of all people, you could have just got a defensive big, maybe some bench pieces, and now your problems currently of not having size in the paint and having to run Tristan Thompson at center and Tatum at the 4, that would have been fixed. And don't forget, they also lost Gordon Hayward, another key loss. So the Celtics, Danny Ainge, I wouldn't say he blew it completely, but the future we all thought they had with the Nets picks, looks like that future is really, it's here, and it's really, it's tough. It's really tough because I don't know what they're going to do.
I'll say this. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with Kemba as a player because, I think, he has some skills, he has some talent, and we know what he can do scoring the ball. I think what we need to start talking about is the Celtics as a whole. I'm going to ask you a question. Have we seen a situation where the Celtics' two young core pieces, Jaylen Brown and Tatum, were compromised by a ball-dominant point guard? Would that be what happened with Kyrie Irving?
Yeah.
We've seen that, and how did that work out? It didn't work out at all. Exactly. So now, Celtics fans, I'm going to solve your solution because it looks like you have a problem. I'll tell you, currently constructed, the Celtics, they're not beating the Sixers. They're not beating the Nets. You'll probably be in a battle with the Bucks.
Okay, they're not beating the Bucks.
Okay, maybe with the Pacers. Move Kemba Walker to the bench.
Wait, whoa.
Or trade him. Trade him. Now you've got Jason Tatum, and you've got Jaylen Brown. Those are your two guys of the future. Those are the guys you have given the keys to the doors to. Those are the guys that you need to build around. Kemba Walker is going to be altering those two, altering their progression. He's a great player, granted, but I just don't think he can flourish with both of them because he's somebody that needs to get in a rhythm also because Kemba can cook. He has a bag. He's somebody that needs the ball. But when you have Tatum and Jaylen Brown, those are your two guys. They're also they need the ball. They're going to be the guys that you need to build around. And I think with the Boston Celtics, they don't need a point guard who also needs the ball. They need somebody, who's a pass first player, not a looking to score first player. Kemba is not the greatest of playmakers. Yeah, he can play make here and there, but he's not, I wouldn't say like a Chris Paul, passing the ball. Yeah, granted, not many guys are, but he's not, I wouldn't call him a pass first player.
He's not.
I think you either need to move Kemba to the bench or trade him. Now, I tweeted this, and, some people called me crazy. How about this? How about trading Kemba Walker for Alonzo Ball?
Oh, my goodness, dude. Stop
Package Kemba for Alonzo and JJ.
Dude,
package.
Stop that, bro.
If I'm the Celtics, I would take that because it just doesn't look like Kemba is going to work out with the Boston Celtics. They're a good team. Kemba's a good player, but I just don't think the fit matters. If you're not going to trade him, move him to the bench so he can come off the bench and then cook with the bench unit. Other than that, I think he's obviously going to alter the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum progression. That's just my thought. You either move him to the bench or you trade him. Lonzo and JJ is out there. If you can get both of those guys and you have to give up Kemba Walker, and you mentioned how he's a bad defender, Lonzo will bring some defensive reinforcements to that starting unit. So, hey, if I was the Celtics, I would do that. Just saying.
Look, guys.
Just saying. Because it just doesn't look like it's working out.
Bro, let's move on. I know you ain't bring up Lonzo Ball.
We know how you feel about Lonzo Ball, but I'm just saying. We know he's not a great defender. Lonzo will bring that defensive reinforcements, and he's a better playmaker than Kemba.
Bro.
With more upside.
Bro.
Just saying.
Bro. For real?
Just saying.
Let's move on, man.
Anyways, moving on. Ooh, some really good players around the NBA. Christian Wood, Jeremy Grant, some players who have made some noise for most improved player of the year. So we're going to give our early season, well, I'll say mid-season picks right now because
around mid,
about early
Pre-All-Star
mid.
game.
So who for you right now do you think should be the front runner for most improved?
I think Christian Wood is my pick for most improved. Shout out to C. Wood because, man, a come up is a come up. This guy went from being undrafted to his girlfriend leaving him on draft night. By the way,
Her loss.
Her loss. We all know where she belongs. The streets. That's where she belongs. In the streets. And I hope that's where she is because Christian Wood, man, what a come up. And I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for him. This guy, he was never really given a fair opportunity. If you actually look at his career, wasn't drafted, went to Philly, went to Charlotte, went to Milwaukee, went to New Orleans, went to Detroit. This guy's already a journeyman.
Literally.
And now he's in his third, fourth season in the NBA. And he went from averaging 13 points a game along with 6 rebounds last year in Detroit. And if you actually look at the end of the year, he was putting up great numbers in Detroit, but they were just losing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people chalked it up, empty numbers, empty stats, blah, blah, blah. He went from 13-6 to 24 points a game, grabbing 11 rebounds, also recording nearly 2 blocks while shooting 55% from the field, 38% from 3, and he's also attempting nearly 5 threes a game. This guy is a legitimate stretch 5, and he's getting better on the defensive side of the ball. And I think the addition of Oladipo and replacing James Harden with him, who's not a locker room cancer, and there's way more chemistry between the team. They have great point of attack defenders. John Wall, his defense has been looking really sharp. I got to give Wall a lot of credit because I doubted him. His defense looked very suspect when we last saw him. He was probably battling through some injuries, and he looks like the John Wall of old, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, he's still trying to find his footing here and there, but on the defensive side of the ball, he stepped up. Oladipo, we all know what he's capable of on that defensive side of the ball. A former All-NBA defender. And then you got other pieces like PJ Tucker. They got some great defensive pieces to help C. Wood because we all know he's not the greatest when it comes to switching. But when you surround your center with good point of attack defenders, that's what you can do. You can increase your defensive production. And in regards to C. Wood, he can handle the ball. He's hitting mid-range jumpers, post-phase, three-point shots, dunking the ball with ease, great lob threat, great size. He is doing everything that you want from a 5 in the modern day. And considering that he went from a guy that people thought was just putting up empty stats to a top 10 center in this league, some could argue top 5. I probably wouldn't go that. Well, you can even argue a top 5 center in this league. He's a starter.
Yeah.
Okay, not a top 5 point. Not top 5 center. He's
yeah,
around that 5 to 10 range. So regardless, when you look at his production this year, he's shown a lot of improvement, and he has proven finally that he deserves to be a legitimate star at the center position. And I'm glad people are giving him the recognition he deserves.
Absolutely. Christian Wood, I think, starting the season has been an absolute stud.
Yeah.
But, speaking of people in Detroit putting up numbers, Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant has been putting up ridiculous numbers this season. I think Denver letting Jeremy Grant walk was probably one of the dumbest.
So they didn't let him walk. He wanted to leave.
What, because they wouldn't pay him?
No. Here's the thing with Jeremy Grant. I'm not going to lie. The situation with Jeremy Grant in Denver, he did that to himself, man. They gave him the exact same contract, and this guy just wanted to be a star. Go ahead and be a star. You're a loser. Go ahead and be a loser in Detroit. We all know Detroit produces losers.
He was averaging 12 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.2 assists this game. This last season actually. This season's averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, just over 1 block. He's shooting 40% from the 3-point line.
He's killing
40%. And if you watch the Denver series last year against the Lakers, I think the X factor was Jeremy Grant because he was the one guarding. He was guarding AD. He was hitting big shots. He was helping Jokic out. With the bigs here and there. And I think Denver letting him go. Obviously whatever happened with that. They should have never just. They should have just said, Jeremy, come play with us.
Overpaid more.
If you would keep that guy, looking at it now, you look at what he's doing in Detroit. He's playing the 4th position. I think he's their number 1 guy. right now.
Yeah, who else is?
I mean, he's a number one guy.
Blake Griffin?
Yes, he's on a bad team, but like he's putting up these numbers. He's showing production. He's showing improvement with the 3-point shot. He's shooting up above 85% from the free throw line, which is obviously a massive improvement from what he was shooting last season. I think Jeremy Grant. It'll be hard for him to take that award away from Christian Wood because, Christian Wood has been phenomenal starting this season. But I think, Jeremy Grant deserves some love. And, hey, if the race could be close, maybe at the end. But if the Rockets are winning, but it won't be close because Christian Wood will run away with it. But, if they both finish with somewhat the same record, which I think is not going to happen. But, Jeremy Grant, I just want to, show him some love because, most improved, I think he's one of the most improved players this season.
I think the thing with Jeremy Grant, though, yeah, you kind of touched on it.
Yep.
He's losing.
Yeah,
like the Pistons are second
What's wrong
to last.
with Detroit teams, man?
The Pistons are currently second to last in the Eastern Conference. And the thing is, when it comes to Jeremy Grant, he's kind of in that Colin Sexton area of last year. People didn't even know Colin Sexton was balling until that Nets game. When if you actually look at the second half of last year and even in the first half, he was balling before then. He wasn't even invited to the rookie sophomore game last year, which was an abomination. But when you look at Jeremy Grant, it's tough because people are going to chalk up his numbers to being empty stats and him just having the ball in his hands a whole bunch. But, it's sad.
I mean, we've seen him in a winning situation in Denver, and he was pretty solid. But obviously, when you were Jokic and Jamal, you're not going to be putting up 23 points per game. But, we all know if you're on your own team. I mean, Christian Wood, now I would say he's the number one guy for the Rockets, and now he's putting up these numbers. Obviously, with Detroit last year, he wasn't putting up these numbers because, he wasn't the number one guy. But, when you're that number one guy on your team, yes, it might be a losing team or a winning team. But, when you're the number one guy, you get to put up all these huge numbers. But we obviously know when it comes to these awards, they look at is your team winning. And if you are, you're most likely going to get the award.
I feel that.
Anyways, moving on. We are officially in the wow era. The Wall, Oladipo, and Wood era. Hey, that's what Houston fans call it, so that's what I'm going to call it. Y'all know how much I love Houston. We're from Houston, so we love Houston, but, obviously we're in Brooklyn now. But anyways, that's another discussion for another day. We're in the Wow era. Wood, Oladipo, and Wall, Oladipo, and Wood. The Rockets have won 5 straight games, and some Rockets fans are holding on to hope that this team might make some noise in the playoffs, or at least make the playoffs. Do you think they're going to make the playoffs?
No. I don't. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
I'm shocked by that.
And the reason
Why you love Oladipo?
I love Oladipo. Oladipo is my guy.
Hey, that's our Nigerian brother.
I want to send you a message out there. Keep it up. You hear me? Keep it up. You're averaging 22 points a game. And when you get into that groove, I'm sure your efficiency will get better. He's shooting 41% from the field, 31% from 3. He's also shooting 73% from the free throw line. But, dude, I have hope that you'll step it up. So don't worry about your efficiency. You will get back on track. We're going to see the 2018 Victor Oladipo one day. We will see it. We will see it. He's already doing his thing. But, unfortunately, this is the Western Conference. This is the Western Conference, and I think people need to understand that there's a lot of great teams out west. A lot of great teams out west. Because they're currently, I believe, 9th in the West.
Yeah, they're currently
as we speak.
Right under Golden State.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. Oh, actually, they're 10th.
They're 10th.
They're 10th
Golden State is
in the West.
Yeah.
And they're 9-9. They have a 500 record. And I think people need to understand in the West, man, they can make a play-in. I believe a play-in, but this is a different ball game than the East. And I also think we have to be honest with ourselves. When you look at this Rockets team, a lot of their players are not meant to last. John Wall's having a good comeback year. His speed still looks as fast as ever, and his defense is as good as it's ever been. But unfortunately, Wall, they're just trying to get Wall's value up so they can trade him. I think we all know that. But the contract that he has,
I think they will keep him.
I don't think so because you're trying to move in a different direction.
Yeah, that's true.
Oladipo, as good as Oladipo's been, Oladipo doesn't even want to be there.
But some Rockets fans don't want to hear building for the future because they think this team is good enough to at least make the 8th seed.
I mean, that's fair. You can have a season where, like the OKC year last year where you compete and then you tank because you're trying to put value and a winning culture in a lot of the young players' heads. Like, I think that winning culture has helped Shea and Lou Dort.
Absolutely.
Dort has stepped up big for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But unfortunately, let's just be honest and face the facts. You're not getting a top 4 seed. You're not being a top 5 seed in the West. That's not happening.
That's fair.
And not only that, but when you look at Oladipo, I hate to say it, Oladipo's health is a concern for me because it's always been a concern.
That's fair also.
And not only that, John Wall's health is a concern. And DeMarcus Cousins, as good as he's been in some games, he's had some really rough games too. And their defense, I expect their defense to continue to get better as long as Boogie's off the court because Boogie's not going to help that defense at all. But I just think the West is too competitive because you're already in the 10th position. You're 9-9. And look at it. You got the Lakers, the Clippers, the Jazz, the Nuggets. That's just the top 4 right there. Then you got teams like the Suns, the Warriors. I mean, there's a lot. The Trailblazers. And the Blazers will be getting CJ and Nurk back at some point in the season. You know, and the Mavericks, that's another team that's started off really slow. And we all know when they get it together, which we assume they will, they'll probably be better than the Houston Rockets. So because of how tough it is in the West, especially that bottom tier. I didn't even mention the Pelicans. Who knows if they might get it together? I think that's really the big reason why I can't say they're going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, you just mentioned health and all those things. I think if this team is healthy, because, okay, Rockets fans, I've been really mean to Rockets fans, you know, obviously with the Harden era and whatnot. So, you know, you probably don't want to hear from me now. But, I mean, I think this Rockets team, if everybody stays healthy, they can maybe make the play-in team 8th or 9th seed. When you look at the top 5, I think the top 5 of the West is kind of like settled. The Lakers, Clippers, Denver, Utah, and maybe the Suns. I think, you know, that top 5 is settled. And then you look at the other half, you know, the Portland Trailblazers. I think they're going to make it. If Golden State can continue this momentum, they probably can make it. The Spurs look good this year. And we're not talking about them enough, but, you know, they look good.
DeRozan has been
balling. He has been balling. Show him some love. You know, the Dallas Mavericks, if they can get it together. The Pelicans also, a team that's been disappointed, if they could get it together also. But, you know, when you look at everybody and you look at the Rockets, they've been playing really good. They're currently on a 5-game winning streak. Since the James Harden trade, they're number 1 in defensive rating in the NBA. They've got some top dogs. Jason Tate, that dude's a pit bull, man. That dude's a dog. Oladipo, John Wall. And I just think it's a bunch of guys just playing with a chip on their chest. You know, playing with a chip on their chest. They're out to prove everybody wrong. You know, with Oladipo getting traded, John Wall getting traded also, and coming back from an injury with DeMarcus Cousins also with his injury, and Christian Wood for being slept on, you know. And I think it's just a bunch of guys, you know, playing with a chip on their shoulder. They're playing with a lot of fire, and I think, you know, the Rockets, if they can just, you know, gel together, get everybody healthy, with Eric Gordon on the bench and Daniel House, I think they can maybe make the playing game, which is about the 9th seed, and if they can just gather enough momentum at the end of the season, they can make the 8th seed. I think they can make the 8th seed.
It's not impossible. I don't think it's impossible, but I just think it's not likely because
the West is really tough.
A different animal, man. The West is a different animal, and we haven't even seen it kick in full gear like the Mavericks.
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about them after we get back from the break. But once they get it together, which we assumed, or I assume they will, man, I don't see how they're going to make that, dude.
Absolutely. But anyways, moving on. We'll be right back from a commercial break as we'll be diving into Dallas Mavericks, as we just talked about. They're off to a disappointing season. What's wrong with them? We don't know. We'll be diving into that after the break. Stay. Welcome back to First Possession here. We're still talking a lot more sports, NBA right now. The Dallas Mavericks, they don't look good. They've been one of the disappointing teams in the NBA right now. Starting off the season with an 8-12 record, sit currently 13th place in the league. Luka Doncic say they don't look good. You know, we expected as Porzingis came back, you know, they will pick up pace with Carlisle, you know, all the pieces that they have around them, but they haven't looked good. You know, they're currently right now 13th in the league, in the West rather, you know, and, you know, what's wrong with the Dallas Mavericks as a whole? Because they don't look like, you know, the team that we all expected them to be. We thought, you know, they'll be one of the contenders in the West, and, you know, with everybody back healthy, you know, they will start to make some noise. But what's wrong with the Dallas Mavericks?
There's a lot of things wrong with the Mavericks, and if you actually look at the last 5 games, they're 0-5. So they're on a 5-game losing streak, which includes a blowout loss to the Houston Rockets and the Utah Jazz. That was just ridiculous. And in their last 10, they're actually 2-8, which, you know, that speaks volumes. And they have multiple losses to the Bulls, as much as I love my team, we shouldn't be beating the Mavericks. And also the Toronto Raptors, a blowout loss to them as well. It's just a tough situation because, for one, they lost Seth Curry, and that took out a huge part of their offense. And I understand they had to kind of replace him with some defensive pieces like Josh Richardson. But I think a lot of people forget Josh Richardson's only played 11 games this year.
Yeah.
So a lot of that defensive impact, it's been limited. But Porzingis only played 9 games, and Porzingis hasn't been looking the best.
Yeah,
Porzingis
he hasn't.
is shooting below
for
30.
some reason.
Yeah, he's shooting below 30% from 3, 44% from the field. Maybe he'll get into the groove because last year he did start off a little bit suspect as well. And then at the end, he was averaging like 25 and 12. He was a monster at the end of the season. So I expect him to play better. Dorian Finney-Smith is not knocking down his threes. He's shooting 33% on nearly 6 attempts a game. But we all know his role is on the defensive side of the ball. And then in the case of Maxi Kleber, I believe he is back, so that should help them with spacing in the front court. And defensively, he's a solid player. They have some pieces to work with. It's just that a lot of their pieces can't really compensate for the loss of Seth Curry.
Yeah.
Because even though Seth Curry is not his brother, he's still a really good player. Right now, he is killing it in Philadelphia.
Exactly.
And we see the impact that he has on that team, not just with Ben Simmons' inefficiencies
Now he's Seth Curry, not Steph Curry's brother.
He's not Steph Curry's brother anymore. He's Seth Curry.
Yep.
He's his own man because he's left impacts everywhere he's went.
Absolutely.
We saw him in Portland, how he played well in the for the Trailblazers, especially during their playoff run. We saw in Dallas what he did for that offense. They were the greatest offense of all time statistically by offensive rating. And then you look at what he's doing right now in Philly, and they lost that, and it's hard for them to compensate for that loss because you don't have a shooter like that.
Absolutely.
Now Luka has to take more contested threes, and Luka, that's what I really want to harp on. Luka right now is shooting 29% from 3 on 7 attempts per contest. Now, Luka's just that great of a player that where he can score on every level, not just from the three-point line, but he can get to the mid-range game. He can attack the basket. He's shooting 47% from the field, even 76% from the free throw line. He can do all of the other things, but his three-point shooting has been bad, and it's not even because he's a bad shooter. It's the type of shots that he takes. He takes a lot of contested off-the-dribble type of shots, and Luka, he has to now learn how to play off ball. Now he's at the stage in his career where statistically he's not really going to get much better anymore unless he goes out there and averages like a 30-point triple-double. Unless that happens where he has like a 2017 Russ year, I don't see him getting much better than where he is now statistically. So now it's time for you to improve on the parts of your game that you've already perfected. And the thing is, maybe it's time to be more of an off-ball threat because they need another playmaker. Luka's always handling the ball and creating offense for everybody. And don't get me wrong, Porzingis attracts his own attention, which helps Luka and other players, but he can't playmake for others. He's not handling the ball and creating his own shot and diverting attention on the perimeter. But when you have Luka having to create offense for Josh Richardson or Tim Hardaway or Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, Jalen Brunson, all these guys are solid role players, but they're not guys that can create. They're not going to go out there and get their own shot. And Luka needs to be able to play off of somebody. And maybe if they have to make a move here or there, who knows what they're going to do. I know they wanted to get Giannis. They were in the running to get Giannis next year, but those plans are over. So they need to be able to move on. And if getting Luka a playmaker so he can play off ball is the situation, then you have to do that because of all the players in the NBA, Luka is dead last when it comes to spot-up threes, when it comes to spot-up frequency, and when it comes to spot-up percentage. He's dead last. He does not spot up. He does not play off the ball. And I think a lot of that is due to the way their team is constructed. And Mark Cuban, you got to make some moves because as great as Luka's been for them, we've seen so many players that when they have this much of a load on the offensive side of the ball, they need somebody else. Yeah, they struggle and they have their inefficient games. And Luka is very streaky from behind the arc, not because he's a bad shooter. He has good form. Luka can shoot the ball. The only issue is the type of shots that he takes. So I think they have to be able to fix that problem and correct that for them to be able to move in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, for me, like looking at the Dallas Mavericks, obviously a team we thought could make a lot of noise coming into this season. I'm going to talk about two of, I think, their biggest offseason losses, one of which you touched on, Seth Curry. Obviously them losing him, I think, the Dallas Mavericks, they Seth Curry was that dude that was spacing the floor for them. You know, could run a lot of off the ball things for Seth Curry, and you know, he was basically attracting a lot of defenders, and that basically freed up, you know, the space for Luka. Not that they don't have shooters, but you know, it's just not the same with somebody as deadly as Seth Curry.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Another offseason loss that I think needs to be talked about is Steven Silas.
Oh, yes, sir.
That was their assistant coach last year.
Great
you know,
offensive
for
mind.
the great offensive mind, you know, that had this team, the great offensive team ever. And, you know, obviously them losing him to the Houston Rockets, you know, that has something also to do with it. You know, I just don't think they're the same team they are this season as last year. They just averaging just over 110 points a game. That's down massively from what they were averaging last season. You know, I think Steven Silas, that loss, you know, has something to do with the way this team is now. But also, speaking of Luka, I don't want to do this, but I think pretty soon we're going to start having this conversation of his stats don't impact winning. I don't want to go that far yet because he's still young and it's kind of harsh to say like he's a Russell Westbrook type player. But in about a year or two, if the Dallas Mavericks are not competing at a high level, we're going to start talking about Luka's impact of just ball dominance and, you know, his stats not impacting winning. Because I think, yes, the Dallas Mavericks needs to make a move here and there. Because I thought that's what they would have done this season. Because looking at that team last year, they took the Clippers to 6 games. I'm like, okay.
Without Porzingis.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, if that team can get somebody on the bench, somebody except Luka that can create, somebody except Luka that can, you know, run some plays, play make here and there, okay, that team can be legit. But, you know, they lost Seth Curry, they lost a couple of pieces, and Porzingis just doesn't look the same for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe they need to give him the ball more. But, you know, the Dallas Mavericks, I hope they get it together because, you know, we all love watching Luka and Porzingis, and that's a team I want to watch in the playoffs compete at a high level, not, you know, in the lottery. But, you know, they need to get it together. What do they need? I think they need to go get some bench pieces. Somebody that can take the ball off of Luka's hand. And also make Luka play some off ball. If y'all going to give James Harden that treatment, let's give Luka that treatment too also. Because, you know, he dominates the ball a lot. He takes a lot.
And it's now that he has to start developing.
Exactly. He takes a lot of terrible shots. I won't call them terrible because he makes some of them. And it looks good. But he takes a lot of really tough shots. You know, that obviously makes his percentage drop lower. So I think the Dallas Mavericks, they need to go out there and get somebody, a playmaker, somebody, you know, that can match Luka. Porzingis is still the number 2, and I think, you know, when he comes back and, you know, fully integrates with that offense, maybe they'll find their stride and maybe they'll get together. But, you know.
And I actually want to say this before we move on to the next segment. Kristaps Porzingis is a huge part of that team.
Yep.
Like, people forget, they gave him a big contract. They gave him a max deal.
Yeah.
And I get it
fair,
at that time.
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
a fair contract. You
the
had
same.
to do that. But at the end of the day, I think we have to also understand he's an injury-prone player.
Yep.
And if this is going to be a common theme where he gets hurt and he has to get back in the groove every season, that's a setback.
Yeah. You
That's
need
a
to go
setback.
out there and get somebody.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but if they have to make a move to fix some of their weaknesses and Porzingis is involved in that kind of trade, I wouldn't hesitate to at least consider it, because considering all the injuries he's already had, and he's fairly young, so he has time to get better. I believe he's only 25, 26 years old. He has time.
Yeah.
But we've seen bigs get hurt a lot. And we knew this was going to be a subject of concern with Porzingis. Porzingis isn't even going to be an all-star this year. He's only made the all-star game one time in his career, and that was when he was in New York. And he got hurt that year as well. I believe that was the year he tore his ACL.
He just had a strong early start to the season.
Yeah. So when it comes to Porzingis, as great as a talent he is, and the potential, that potential may be, you know, crushed and may be limited due to the health.
Yeah.
And because, you know, you have Luka now, you don't want him to be disgruntled. You don't, because missing the playoffs would be a setback. A huge
I think
setback.
it will. I think it will.
A huge step back from what they were last year. No pun intended.
Absolutely.
But in regards to Porzingis, if moving him is the move you have to make, I think they have to consider it. And it's sad.
I'm not doing that right now.
Not now. I'm not saying now, but considering how this season goes, if they miss the postseason, because right now they're not even in the playoffs right now. They're not even a play-in team. Yeah, they're not. If the playoffs started, they wouldn't even be a play-in team. Nope. So if that continues and they miss the playoffs, or Porzingis, because I think if Porzingis suffers another season-ending injury, you're done. I think you move on from him. So if that happens, or you missed the postseason, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
I think you got to consider moving Porzingis.
I'll give Porzingis one more year, to show some signs of, you can't really control injuries and stuff because it's part of the game and it happens. But, obviously with the production and everything, and obviously with Luka Doncic, somebody of that talent, somebody of that star power, you need somebody who can, increase his potential now and, increase his potential to the max also.
And that's also one of the reasons why, before we move on again,
yep.
I actually thought they should trade it for Gobert last year. Because last year their defense was kind of suspect,
Yeah.
and if they got someone to anchor the paint, Gobert's a great lob threat. He would fit with Luka, and Gobert was on a
they had a really paint problem.
They had a huge paint problem last year. Kleba stepped up, and Powell stepped up, but those guys I think are more second guys.
Yeah.
They can be a starter on some teams,
and they're not like the tallest of.
Yeah, they're not the strongest of frames and all of that. That's why if they got Gobert in there, that would have been a really deadly big three, right?
Absolutely, but I hope they figure it out.
Yeah, I really do.
If not, we're gonna start having some questions about.
I think everybody likes Luka.
Yeah, everybody loves Luka.
It's almost like the Giannis.
He's fun to watch.
It's almost like the Giannis thing. No, because think about it. Everybody used to love Giannis. Giannis was everyone's favorite young player in the
As much
league.
as I get on him, I love
everybody used to love Giannis back in the day. They're like, oh, that guy's gonna be something. He's gonna be special.
Yeah.
Guy won an MVP. Oh man, Giannis finally did it, man. He's back here, wins another MVP. Man, Giannis did it. Then he loses in the playoffs to the Heat, and we're like, oh man, now you got to start winning.
And I don't want them to give Luka that.
Luka's gonna get that treatment soon if he doesn't step it up.
Very good, absolutely.
And it's early in his career. Like Luka's really young.
Very early.
The guy just learned
his third year.
Yeah, the guy just was able to drink. He just became able to drink. But the issue is like, when we see the talent this early in your career, you're putting up numbers, your standards start to increase, and soon we're going to expect playoff performances. We're going to start, and he already has great playoff resume last year, but we're going to start expecting more. We're going to expect you to get past the second round. We're going to expect you to get to the finals soon. Sooner or later, we're going to start expecting a championship. It's going to happen just like that.
We need to see progression, basically, with the Dallas Mavericks. But moving on to our final and last segment of the day, the segment we just brought onto the show, Show Me Love, which is basically a segment where we just show some guys love. We criticize a lot of guys on this show, and but Show Me Love is basically a segment to show some guys love. And the guy I'm going to be showing some love today is a guy who goes by the name of Emmanuel Quickley. I know nobody wants to hear about anything to do with the Knicks, but please start watching some Knicks game, because the Knicks, they're stunk it up.
This guy just said we should watch.
They're stunk it up for the last decade. But they look all right this season. They have a 9-11 record. Emmanuel Quickley, I know his name is not LaMelo Ball or James Wiseman, but Emmanuel Quickley, who I think right now should be top 2 for Rookie of the Year candidates, because he's averaging 12.4 points per game, 2.2 rebounds, and 2.5 assists, and he's doing all that off the bench for the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks, after 20 games, they're 9-11. When have the New York Knicks been 9-11 after 20 games? They're always like 5-15, 4-16. But Emmanuel Quickley, was drafted in the 25th pick in the first round or something like that? But he was drafted late first round pick. I think Emmanuel Quickley deserves some credit. We need to start showing him some love, because he is balling right now for the New York Knicks. I know you don't want to have anything to do with the New York Knicks, but you should start giving them a try, because Emmanuel Quickley, they're fun to watch right now. The Knicks are fun to watch because they hustle, they play with heart, they got a lot of defensive dogs on that team, and they have some young stars that are really fun to watch. Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, they have some pieces, that, with the New York Knicks. When have we ever cared what was going on in New York Knicks? But, for this season, I think Emmanuel Quickley, I'm showing him some love, because nobody has been talking about him. We've been talking about the other rookies, LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman, Anthony Edwards, even Tyrese Halliburton with the Kings, but nobody's showing Emmanuel Quickley some love. So right now, I'm showing Emmanuel Quickley some love. Pretty soon, I think he's going to be the top dog for Rookie of the Year. Obviously, if he can keep this up, and if the New York Knicks can keep winning, he's going to be my Rookie of the Year. So Emmanuel Quickley, show me love. I'm showing you some love, my guy. Kentucky bros. I love Kentucky. We both love Kentucky. Yeah. Coming out of college, Emmanuel Quickley, I didn't think he was going to be this good, and I didn't think his game was going to translate this much and this quick. But, he has had a phenomenal start to the season, and Emmanuel Quickley, I'm showing you some love, bro. What do you think?
He's had a really solid rookie year. I can't lie. But he's not second in the race.
I think he's second right now.
You think he's okay? Then who's
LaMelo
first?
Ball, Emmanuel Quickley, and Tyrese.
You think he's above Wiseman?
LaMelo Ball?
No, Quickley.
Yes.
Dude,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Dude, I don't care.
He's been very inconsistent the last couple of weeks.
Anything that lives on the Knicks does not deserve to be top 5.
We're not going to do that. Come on.
I'm so serious, dude. No, he's not top. No, he's not number 2. But he's had a really good year off the bench for the Knicks. It's just, like I said, anything that goes to New York dies.
Which is sad, but I think we can't let
Remember
that happen.
Alonzo Trier when he was doing this?
That's what I said. But Emmanuel Quickley has looked really good. Hey, the Florida King, put some respect on his name, man.
Of course, but we've seen this before, New York, they kill anything that lives.
I hope they don't ruin his talent like they're doing Alonzo Trier and Dennis Smith Jr. and the rest of those guys, because Emmanuel Quickley's a baller. And we're showing him some love.
He's hooping.
Yep. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. First Possession here. Once again, I'm your host, John Iguro, here with my partner, David Ogan and Babe. We'll be back with another episode right before Super Bowl. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching. We're out. See you next time.